welcome to Aging Matters, a program featuring people who talk about issues of interest to older adults and their families. I'm Cheryl Beversdorf, your host. Today, Aging Matters TV show launches a three-part series called Aging Research. The first episode focuses on community research regarding cognitive decline in older adults. My first guest is Dr. Julie Ries, Professor of Physical Therapy at Marymount University. She will talk about the value and use of an at-home virtual balance exercise program designed for people with mild cognitive impairment or dementia. Following our interview, Sarah Spicer, a second-year physical therapy student, and Larry and Sharon Beeman, a couple who has completed the study protocol, will demonstrate a series of exercises that are part of this program. So welcome, Julie, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, let's get started by having you give us a little bit of an overview of your interest in balance training and dementia.
Sure, I have a long history in working with people with dementia. I'm a physical therapist by training, and I'm concerned about falls in the population of people with dementia. Individuals with dementia fall conservatively 2 to 3 times more than older adults who do not have any cognitive issues. And not only do they fall more, they're more likely to be hurt, they're more likely to be hospitalized, they're less likely to go immediately back home after being hospitalized. So there's a whole cascade of events that can happen after a fall. So I have a special interest in trying to decrease the risk of falls in individuals in this population. And maybe a more grandiose idea that if we can decrease the risk of falls, it not only helps the person with dementia and their family and their loved ones, but this is really a public health issue. So if we could do this on a broad scale, maybe we could save healthcare dollars in a bigger picture. So I feel like there's a huge impact to be had by minimizing falls in people with dementia.
So that sounds like it was the first of a few steps to the current feasibility study that we were talking about, to employ a remote strategy for the training of some kind of program?
Yeah, so I've done several studies that were in-person group balance training programs in adult day healthcare centers. And so those have been very successful in demonstrating that we can improve balance in people with dementia. They don't always remember that we've done the balance exercises, but they get better in their balance. So they have a motor memory of the programs that we do. So we know we can improve balance. The problem is when we take balance training to, say, an adult day health center, once the project is over, so I come in with my students and we are manpower to do these group balance training programs. Once the research project is over and I take my students and go, there's no longer any manpower to keep these activities ongoing. And to improve balance, you really have to practice upright, on your feet, challenging balance, which an adult day health center where people with dementia may go for day activities, they just don't have the staff to do this safely. So we thought maybe we could do this remotely in the home with a vested care partner.
And at this point, have there been other studies that have focused on balance training for individuals with dementia, or is this a first time?
No, we know a lot about balance training in older adults in general, and we have good evidence that balance training can diminish fall risk in older adults. Historically, people with dementia had been excluded from studies because of assumptions that they wouldn't be able to participate well, they wouldn't be able to follow instructions. There were a lot of assumptions made. And on a side note, that's really another one of my real passions, is helping to educate other healthcare providers and rehab professionals about how to best bring out the strengths of somebody with dementia. But in terms of balance studies with people with dementia, it's a fairly new area of research. And certainly this idea of remote training for people with dementia is quite new. There are a handful of small studies, but I'm trying to really add to that new area of research.
So talk more about your design. Obviously, you have this history of what other people have been doing. So how did you decide what the design of your project would look like?
Well, we really set out to get the care partner excited and invested in the project. And so that could be a spouse, it could be an adult child of a person with dementia, it could be a paid caregiver even, providing we have the family involved. And so we really wanted to bring the program into the home where a dyad of people, the person with dementia and their care provider, would be vested in this program. And we train the care partner to put safety first, because that's our biggest concern. But we also want them to be able to participate. So we think that if we get these two people exercising together, maybe we can get some sustainability of this investment in exercise. So that's really what we're after, is sustainability, because when we went to the day programs, they couldn't sustain it. And we want people exercising for the long haul. So we start with this balance program, and hopefully they get vested and they participate in the exercises, and they realize, hey, exercising at home with my partner, this is kind of fun. And I see a benefit from it, so that when the project's done, they continue. And so they may continue with our program. We're using an Otago exercise program. It's a packaged program. Or we'll provide them with lots of resources of other types of exercise programs they could do at home.
And because of the nature of dementia, I was just curious, are there a lot of exercises? I know we're going to do a demo a little bit later after this interview, but are there a lot of exercises? And what is the time commitment for?
So there is a packaged exercise program so that the person gets very familiar with the exercises. There are 17 exercises in the whole curriculum, but we package certain exercises and we have an A, B, and C version. And so the commitment is 8 weeks of working with a student researcher online, and then the second 8 weeks we're trying to wean their supervision of the online student researcher.
Okay, and have there been a lot of challenges so far?
I'd say the top 3 challenges have been recruitment, and recruitment. So my biggest issue has been getting people to participate. I was kind of naive, thinking that we'd have people banging down the doors to participate in our project. And it's been a lot harder than I anticipated.
How many people have participated so far?
So we have, we were shooting for 24 dyads or pairs of people, and we've just evaluated our 10th dyad. Okay. So we're moving, but just not as fast as I had hoped.
And do you have a timeline for this?
This project is sponsored by a grant, the Alzheimer's and Related Diseases Awards Fund, administered out of Virginia Commonwealth University, and it's a state grant. So we just applied for an extension so that we have a little more time to spend the money that they've given us. It was a 1-year grant, and now we've needed to extend it so that we can finish what we started.
And so once the research is done, what happens next?
Well, hopefully we'll evaluate it and find some meaningful things and publish on that. And then my goal would be to work toward maybe some bigger grants where we could do something like this on a larger scale. Again, I'd love to be able to take this out to the community of individuals who have dementia if it proves to be feasible.
And is that usually what happens in terms of studies, that you can immediately take it to the community in, like here in Arlington, or?
Well, the great thing about this type of community research or community-based research is that we're bringing it to the community now. And so if it does prove to be feasible, there are other steps to looking at, is it effective? Is it, are we able to sustain it over time?
Evaluating it.
Evaluating it, yes.
Right.
So we have lots to do, but with the Marymount University Center for Optimal Aging as a new kind of hub for community-based research and partnerships in the community, we're hopeful that we would be able to bring it to the community.
Sounds very exciting. So, well, you are about to see physical therapy student Sarah Spicer work with Larry and Sharon Beeman to demonstrate some of the balance program exercises that Julie has been talking about. And the couple will also talk briefly about their experience with the program. So let's watch.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a second-year physical therapy student at Marymount University. I'm here today with Sharon and Larry Beeman, who are participants in our balance study program. Today we're going to go through a few exercises that we would normally be doing on a weekly Zoom call through the Otago exercise video program. So we'll go ahead and get started with a few exercises. We're going to start with with toe raises, holding onto the chair as we need, bringing our toes up off of the floor. So Sherry and Larry, you can go ahead. Good, holding onto the chair as you need. Good, and you could go through 2 rounds of 10 with these exercises. We'll just stick with a demo few for this video. Good, so next we'll move into heel raises, so bring heels up off of the ground, coming all the way up. Good, holding onto the chair as you need, doing 2 rounds of 10. Good. Next, we'll move into a standing balance exercise where we have one heel connected to the toe of your other foot, and you can go ahead and hold on if you need or challenge yourself. Bring your hands off of the chair. Holding here. Good. You can have your hands on your waist as Larry does. Good. We'll wrap up with that one. You can hold that for 2 or 3 rounds of 30 seconds. Next, we'll do a single leg balance stance, which you can do on both legs. We'll start by just demonstrating on one, holding one leg up off of the floor, holding onto the chair as you need. Good. Again, holding this one for 2 or 3 rounds of 30 seconds. Good. And we'll do one more here at the chair, holding on and lifting the leg out to the side. Again, you can do this on both legs, 2 or 3 rounds of 10 repetitions. Great. Okay. Next, we'll move into a few walking exercises. So we'll start with backwards walking. We'll go ahead and walk around the chairs like so, holding onto a wall as you need at home for balance support. Good. And again, you can do around 2 or 3 rounds of 10 steps for these as you are able to safely with the wall. And then we'll demonstrate one more walking exercise coming up on our toes. And again, holding onto the wall as you need, walking around with the wall. Great. Awesome. Okay, so that's all for the exercises. Now we're going to talk to Sharon and Larry a little bit about their experience. So how do you feel overall that the balance program went?
Terrific. It's been immensely helpful to me and Sharon. I'll let her talk for herself, of course, but I'm 80 years old, and the legs don't work like they used to when I was a kid and playing football or whatever. And so I've had to have help learning how to walk safely again, and I haven't been falling. So that's the best. I'm still not doing all the exercises perfectly, but I'm not falling.
Good. So Sharon, do you feel like they've also been beneficial for you?
Oh, very much so. I always exercised. I did a lot of flexibility and yoga, but I never got into the balance, and I think it's immensely important, and it's really helped me.
Absolutely. Awesome. Do you feel like you'll continue doing either these exercises or any other exercises now that we're done with the course of the program?
Definitely.
Well, we are.
Yes.
Through the, it's not
Yeah,
Zoom.
we
What's it
finished.
called?
The YouTube videos?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing them, and they're very helpful because it gives the instructions to you And if you pay attention to the instructions, you're going to do it right.
And
It
the
takes a
more
while
we
to get
do,
there.
the better we get. It's
Good.
just so evident. It really is.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've been able to do any activities like improved than before we started the program?
Just walking around, just
Good,
walking.
just
and
day-to-day
then
stuff.
Much more
There's
stable.
things that I'm doing better than I did
Yes.
before, but I got a ways to go still.
Good. Great.
I hope the demonstration of exercises with Sarah and Larry and Sharon was helpful in learning how older adults with mild cognitive impairment can engage in an exercise program at home. My second guest is Dr. Catherine Diaz-Asper, Associate Professor in Psychology at Marymount University. Catherine will share her research to develop a telephone call protocol using AI to determine if an individual is experiencing cognitive decline. So welcome, Catherine, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, well, help us understand what led you to consider developing a telephone call protocol that uses AI to determine if a person has cognitive decline.
Well, I've been interested in cognitive decline for a long time, and research has shown that the earlier we can detect it, the better off individuals and family members will be. And so I wanted to make use of these new advancements in artificial intelligence to help with this idea of being able to detect decline earlier. It turns out there's a series or a set of AI tools that use speech and language. These tools include automated speech recognition, natural language processing, and machine learning. And if you put them all together, they are able to differentiate the speech and language of someone who is cognitively healthy from someone who has cognitive decline. And so I was very interested in being able to apply these sorts of technologies in my research study. And a great way to get those speech samples is over the telephone.
And why artificial intelligence? I mean, we hear so much about artificial intelligence and is it really good or is it not so good and that, but this sounds like a very good reason to be using AI. Was that part of your thought process in terms of that it was a good thing and it could be useful?
Well, yes. I mean, I think that the AI that we use is only as good as the information that we feed the computer. And so in the research that I do, the computer is getting words and language from many, many different sources, and then it compares the incoming speech and language from different people to see how well they fit sort of the common speech and language that older people use. And so it's actually been a very, very good thing to be able to apply these modern advances that we wouldn't have had access to even 10 years ago.
So what do you hope to accomplish? What is this going to look like as you conduct your research and what the outcomes?
So I want to accomplish two things. One, I would like to develop a tool that is actually as sensitive or possibly even more sensitive than the kinds of screening tools that we have available now. The second thing I want to do is I want to increase access to these sorts of screening tools to people that are unable or unwilling to get to a centre to be evaluated. There's actually a staggering number of older people with memory concerns that aren't getting seen until their cognitive decline has progressed quite markedly. And there are various reasons for this. Some of them might include their geographical location, that they're just not close to a centre. It might have to do with mobility and transportation issues, and it can even have something to do with cost. And so by using the telephone to reach these people, we have the opportunity to get to them out in the community rather than necessitate them coming into a centre to be screened. The vast majority of us have access to a telephone, so rather than have you perhaps travel a long way, we can just call you at home.
And I'm wondering now, we we talked with Julie earlier about the balanced exercise program for people with mild cognitive impairment or dementia. So is there a relationship between her exercise program and this AI telephone project?
So both Julie and I have an interest in getting our research out into the community where people can really use it. And I think that's what, apart from the fact that we both have an interest in cognitive decline and aging more generally, I think that's what really draws us together in terms of our research interests. And so in my case, a lot of the research using these AI tools that has shown differences and the ability of these tools to be able to differentiate whether you have cognitive decline or not, all of those studies were conducted in very controlled lab or hospital-based settings, so with really good quality microphones and no background noise. But of course, that's not real life. In real life, you call someone and talk to them on the phone, and they've got different types of phones with different cell phone reception. You might get background noise, dogs barking, birds chirping, right? So we want to be able to show that the kind of tools that appear to be useful in this sense can be applied in the real world.
So what you're doing here in terms of your research, is this kind of the first of its kind? I mean, you've described some studies already in more of a controlled setting, but this is the first to do this in not such a controlled environment? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, so to the best of my knowledge, we are the first, my collaborators and I are the first group to take this out to the people, as it were.
And I was also wondering if there's been other factors that led to your decision. You said you have an interest in the cognitive decline and the studies. Anything else that led you to this?
Well, again, my background, I'm a neuropsychologist by training, so I've always been interested in the relationship between the brain and our behavior. And in the case of dementia due to Alzheimer's disease, the most common cause of dementia, it appears that the changes in the brain actually occur sometime before, possibly years before we are able to notice those symptoms ourselves, those memory problems. And so that's part of the reason why I'm so interested in using these new tools. Maybe they're able to pick up something earlier than we can as humans, in which case we can much easier help people earlier on than we can when the disease has progressed so much.
So what's happened so far? What's been the findings to date?
Well, so I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of how the study has worked, and then I can discuss sort of what we've found, which is really quite exciting, I think. So we partnered with the Memory Disorders Program at Georgetown University, and they have a list of older volunteers that are either cognitively healthy, have mild Alzheimer's disease, or have that intermediate condition, mild cognitive impairment. And so what we did is we called these participants over the phone at home when it was a convenient time for them, and they completed a roughly 20-minute interview. Some of the questions included sort of standard cognitive screening test questions like remembering a list of words, remembering what the date is, who was the president, that sort of thing. But we also asked them to give us a sample of their speech, and we asked them to tell us the story of Cinderella or recall a favorite memory from childhood. Those recorded speech portions were then put through the artificial intelligence software to try and predict which of the three groups people were in. Findings revealed that the artificial intelligence did a brilliant job of being able to predict which group people were in. In fact, it did better than two standard cognitive screening tools that are being used today. It outperformed those. It also outperformed an expert clinician when we asked a neurologist who specializes in the diagnosis of dementia to classify whether people were cognitively healthy, had mild cognitive impairment, or mild Alzheimer's disease just based on the transcripts of what they said. And our computer model did vastly better at that task than an actual human expert did.
So what's next? We're running out of time here, so I just want to make sure that when will this be concluded, and how can people find out more information?
Sure. So we're still working on the studies. We're getting great preliminary findings from participants saying that they really like the tool, they really like the interview, which I think is important, because if we're going to develop a tool, it needs to be liked or else no one's going to use it, right? So that's an important finding. So we're wrapping up those studies now. Depending on funding, we hope to be able to take it out to more people, different backgrounds, different speech backgrounds, different languages even. So those are sort of next steps. Both myself and Julie are affiliated with Marymount University's Center for Optimal Aging, and you can read about our research and contact us through them. And they also have some wonderful resources for the local community.
So we can look it up on the website. So, well, I want to thank Marymount University faculty members Dr. Julie Ries and Dr. Catherine Diaz-Asper, also physical therapy student Sarah Spicer, and Larry and Sharon Beeman for joining me today. This program is broadcast Sundays at 5:30 p.m. and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Comcast Channel 69 and Verizon Channel 38 in Arlington, Virginia. Aging Matters is also on the radio. The program is broadcast every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. on WERA Arlington 96.7 FM. Be sure to check out the Aging Matters website, agingmattersonline.com, for more information about our radio programs and TV episodes. Thank you for watching the program today, and please join me again for the next Aging Matters show. And until then, remember, age is just a number, not a label.